Howdy, Bill Oxidean here, and today I'm going to address one of the most frequently asked questions about the mini dom. What do you do with the driveline? How do you lube it? How do you grease the shaft? How much gap do you leave? I'm going to address all these things in just a moment. With a 1.5 millimeter hex driver, I'd like you to loosen the lower set screw on the coupler, the one that holds the wire drive in place. Next, I would like you to simply slide the drive assembly out like so. Now here's your drive assembly. If you notice, you've got 3 ball bearings, one up front, one here, and one in the rear. And they're held in place by these green O-rings. Now, instead of packing a bunch of grease into the stuffing tube or into this end, these are stainless steel ball bearings. The way you're going to service these is with a high quality bearing lube. It doesn't have to be super high quality, but it has to be something thin that's made for bearings. I like Trinity. You can use fishing reel oil. There are a lot of different lightweight oils that'll work in here. And what I'm going to have you do is generously lube each bearing, front and rear, all throughout. Generously lube. You can even dribble a little on the shaft just to have some in there. Then I'm going to have you slide the assembly ever so carefully back in. It shouldn't give you much problems at all. You just have to make sure everything is aligned as it goes in. Now, when you come to the front here is where it's time to align everything into the coupler. Now, once you've slid your shaft in to align it into the coupler, you'll see as I turn it, you can see the flat spot. You want the flat spot up to match with the set screw. And go ahead and slide the shaft in. Now, as far as gap goes, our boat doesn't need much of gap. In the older days, boats needed a lot of gap right here in between the drive dog and the nose of the strut. But since ours is a wire drive, there's no shrinkage in our drive line. There's none. And it also used to compensate for motor play. So the force of the thrust pushes the shaft forward. And that's what we have this little Teflon thrust washer for. You don't need much of a gap, if any at all. If anything, maybe just a tiny hairline. But for safe keeps, I want you to not worry about that. You don't really need much of a gap at all, and it'll run just fine and very fast. So when you slide it in, slide it all the way up. You don't want to press it up in there too hard, but just butt it up there to where it's nice and right up against it. Then, with your 1.5 millimeter driver, I'd like you to retighten the set screw. Now, when you tighten this set screw, you do not need to gorilla tighten it down. You don't have to torque it down like an animal because it's flat spotted and we don't have much problem with those. Just don't do it too loose. Do it nice and snug where it's got a little bit of tension on there. But again, you do not want to gorilla crank that down on there. You're going to deform the shaft and it's just not necessary. Now, when you're finished running for the day, I'd like you to always remove the shaft. Remember, first, loosen your set screw, remove your shaft, and place it inside the boat for safe storage. Leave your hatch off. Leave this off for at least a day or two after you run. Make sure to dab up any excess moisture inside the boat after you run. And again, when you go to run again and you put your shaft back in, I want you to pull it out, oil the bearings, front to back, slide it back in, and you're ready for another fun day of boating. Well, partner, that wraps up this segment of our instructional videos. Again, remember, you don't need any heavy grease in there. And remember, leave the hatch off after a day of running. Leave it off for a day or two. And make sure to remove the shaft after running. You don't want things to rust and corrode in there. And most importantly, have a great day of model boating.